Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott McKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
All right, once again, thank you very much for joining Industrial Talk, and thank you very much for your support of this platform that celebrates industry professionals all around the world, because you are bold, yes, you are brave, thank you very much. You are just living a life that helps us succeed, and you're solving problems, you collaborate, that's what you're all about. You live big, and that's why we celebrate you on this podcast. As you can tell by the buzz in the background, we are on site, IoT Solutions World Congress 2023, and it's a must. You have to put this event on your calendar because it just is a collection of problem solvers like the one right to my left, Al, that is dedicated and focused on solving those problems and collaborating with you. Let's get cracking. Al, how are you doing?
Great. It's really awesome to be back here in person. My last event was prior to the pandemic, so
Yeah.
it's really fun to be here, to see the crowd, to see the energy. It's exciting.
I'm just telling you, you need to be here because there's a speed and an energy, and if you're not actively seeking out education, because it's all around here, you're going to be left behind, and that's not a pretty sight, but it's that fast.
Definitely.
By the way, you look better in person than you do on a Zoom.
Oh.
Because I've never met you outside of a Zoom or a Teams or something like that.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, for the listeners, Al, give us a little background on who you are.
Okay, my name is Al BEYDOUN. I'm the president of ODBA. And ODBA is a standard development organization. We're an international association with nearly 400 members of representing the largest industrial companies in the world. And what we do, we're focused on communication network protocols to support the industry, the industrial automation, basically.
Communication protocols. Just sort of, what does that mean? You must dive into multiple methods of being able to say, hi, I'm an asset. I want to communicate data. I got to collect it someplace. Is that you're that middle?
So we're basically down to the mechanism of messaging and communication between devices, between machines, between devices and PLC control systems, and getting the data to the cloud. So kind of the infrastructure that will enable the message, the communication to take place in an industrial environment.
What is interesting, because being in an event like this, and yeah, of course it's IoT, IIoT, data analytics, all of that stuff, and it's great, don't get me wrong, and it's to a certain extent from a device perspective, the prices are going down. You can pull that information off, that's great. Rarely do we have a conversation on, I got it, how do I get it to the destination to do what I need to do? And that's where you're at, right?
And I mean, the important thing is to realize that, so basically first is we're operating on making the data visible. So you have to have visibility and make the data available to subscribers, whether it's the PLC, the control system, to the cloud. So we're the highway that opens that channel. And then you start talking about IoT and other things. What do you do with that data? And the analytics, the monitoring, the diagnostics, and all the other things, come next. So we're on the infrastructure level of allowing that communication to take place, and reaching devices that are so we start talking about physical layers and Ethernet and cabling and devices that have the capability to make the communication.
So if from a business perspective, I've got this business. As I say, it's manufacturing, fine, whatever, lines and all that stuff. There are different there are communication applications at various levels, and to optimize that, you're just saying, okay, you don't need that, you need this, and being able to do it, and then the standards around that, so that common lexicon, so that people could say, yeah, Ethernet, here's the standards, being able to do it effectively. Is that an accurate sort of picture?
No, it's. I mean, basically, our core technology is what we call common industrial protocol, and this is the ability to have organized structured messaging between the devices. So when you have different devices implementing the same methodology, the same SIP, the Common Industrial Protocol, then it allows them to communicate with each other. And now, so this is kind of the one level. But we have, whether you're talking to a PLC or to any other, so there are other communication to move the data. So whether it's OPC UA or MQTT, etc. So first is the communication on the control on the OT level, and then you could have other ways to get the data from the OT to the IT in the cloud. So we're primarily, from the OT perspective, the SIP is operating from the operational level between devices and machines and controllers.
But to have a common, to have a consistent protocol will allow, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, will allow sort of that free flow of information that is necessary. If I want to see the data, there are various devices and whatever it might be within my ecosystem.
Sure.
I'm able to make sure that they all sort of
talk the same language.
And so I don't have islands out there. I don't have just sort of.
They understand the same common language,
yes,
so
yes.
I'm requesting this, they respond, and there's a mechanism and protocols to, and then I'm going to start talking about other things, this is important as we talk about IoT and about communication. Security has to be, is a must. So we have what we call SIP security. One of the features is to protect the communication between the devices, between devices and controllers and so on. And that is very important because you have to make sure that the protecting the integrity of the data going between devices, so it has not been altered.
Yeah, see, that would be the huge risk, right?
Exactly.
It's like, oh, wow.
And then you have to, first is making the authenticity, the integrity, and then the authenticity that it's a trusted source. So, there has to be a way to identify who's sending me the messages, and is it a trusted source that I could, act on it. And the third aspect is the authorization. And by the authorization we mean is the role. Am I allowed to request certain things, certain actions to take place? And those are the key elements that we implement in our SIP security that would make this a key to the communication, to protect these lowest layers of communication.
Is this, you mentioned it in the beginning that your standards membership includes large companies. They have to do this stuff. They have to. What about the small to mid-sized companies? Is this also approachable? Because they have to do the same thing. They have to be efficient. They have to understand their network. They have to do the stuff that is necessary. And of course, protecting it is key. Is this also doable? Is this like...
So it builds basically, there's flexibility in terms of what a device vendor is able and willing to do, depending on where they're used, where their devices, and they can make the assessment. Is adding, SIP security feature a must for me, and it doesn't have to be all or none. You could add certain aspects where you say, look, I'm concerned about this and maybe not the roles, or so you define a profile of what type of security levels you want to implement. So it's a scalable type based on and some vendors may assess that, look, maybe I'm in an area where it's segmented or unprotected, and it's not necessary for them, so they can make that assessment based on the system, the architecture, and so on.
The reality is, whatever we're in, whatever this, and this is my segue, so you're going to be dazzled by it. Whatever this Industry 4.0 is, I find people, companies, individuals, no matter small, mid to large, it doesn't matter, must begin the journey, having that conversation, whatever it is, because you bring a certain element, other people's like, oh no, you do this and this, and there is a potential for me to get confused, which is, I'm not the standard, let's put it this way, it's easy for me, but there's a lot of other individuals that are just saying, I hear what you're saying, this is overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And it's not meant to be negative or it's just the reality, because there's so much, it's rapid out here. So what I like is and then so we just have to be able to sort of pull this all together and create an approachable picture of mm-hmm. what this means.
Right.
So one, we talk about Industry 4.0, that became a miscellaneous file, just like IoT is sort of like this miscellaneous file where AI all of a sudden started fitting in it. There's digital twin, and there's a recognition that it's not. We got to figure something out. We got to create clarity in that. You came by and you talked about Industry 5.0. I want you to sort of define what 4.0 is, then start going down the road of saying, yeah, and 5.0. Help us understand that there.
All right. So, I mean, the journey of Industry 4.0 started already a few years ago, and the journey of basically the path of digital transformation and the ability, it's all about connectivity, connecting devices to the internet to extract the value, to be able to monitor, to be able to make your production more efficient, improve productivity, and so on. So, and there's safety in many other aspects of it. So, 5.0 is taking it to a next step where it brings the human factor and the planet into the picture. How do you do everything that you are trying to do, yet keep in mind the well-being of the workers, of the people in your factory and plant, and at the same time also preserve the well-being of the planet, with everything that is going on. How do you achieve, the net zero and so on? So there are other regulations and things that people want to do, and how does IoT support that? Well, I need to be able to measure things, and I need to be able to monitor things to know where I'm at, and that's kind of how it's all connected. So it's kind of building on the business case. What is it that I want to do? And you build the business case that I need the right sensors, the right data to be collected to achieve a goal, and that's kind of how you sell the story. It's a use case.
Yeah, you do, and I know that many of the companies out there are inundated. Now, I'm not talking about the larger companies. I'm just talking about the ones that are small to mid-size, and I'm passionate about them because I think that what we talk about here at this particular event is transformative. It can definitely improve the bottom line. From a business perspective, improve the bottom line. That's one. Two, it can improve the human element too, sure, as well. And that to me, I like the fact that what you said about 5.0, and there's that human component, because all of a sudden 4.0 is just like, hey, let's connect all the devices, let's just do it, let's collecting the data, let's do this, and there was no conversation wrapped around that person. Right. And it's always person and process, right? People and process that help companies succeed. And I do like that. But for me, as a small guy, you just, I don't know where to start. I don't know who to trust. I don't, it's so overwhelming.
Sure, and these are kind of the roadblocks that you hear.
Yeah.
I mean, implementers will say, well, look, if something is working, why do I need to change?
Yeah,
I mean,
why do I want to introduce risk and a pain
because
in my...
it's an investment.
Yeah.
There's the fear of being connected and the security risk associated with that. I mean, everyone hears what's happening, so these are things that will hold, vendors. And there's, again, we said it's a cost. The devices have to be more smart and be able to do more things.
Yeah.
So there's aspects to that is factoring in. So again, you gotta be able to have the use case where you say that, look, things are good, but I can make them better, and here's how. And
and you can say, yes, we can make it better. We can start incrementally too.
Sure.
You don't have to say, hey, I see your business, let's do a big bang, and then that
exactly.
works,
And those are kind of the implementation becomes another aspect of that. But at a minimum, it's a journey, it's a path where you want to start. What is most important to you to connect to the internet and be able to do something with it that would sell it for further implementation.
How do you there are a lot of businesses out there, the legacy business, right? They've been in business for years, whatever it might be. They've got existing PLCs, they've got an infrastructure there. How do you take a business like that's been around and then try to create a common protocol? How do you begin working that through? So in the case of PLC here, I got a device here. How do you begin sort of approaching that? I'm sorry for that just popped into my head.
That's okay. So there are certain things, obviously, vendors will look always for the backward compatibility and being able to look whatever I'm implementing. There's the aspects of, am I starting a green field or is it a brown field? And that has to be part of the equation because it will affect your investment. There are certain things that are, if it's software, easy to upgrade, but when it becomes a hardware, then it complicates the equation. Now, does my firmware, have the capability to do it, or I need to upgrade?
Right.
So the investment becomes even larger, So those are things that have to be taken into consideration. There's not really one answer to, so it depends on the situation, on the architecture, the process that you're involved with.
But it just makes sense.
Of course.
You've got to evaluate it. You got to just look at it, and I would imagine that evaluation would then, yes, we can go this route. You don't want to just go, head on in and then create problems.
Absolutely.
It's just like you have that.
Absolutely.
Analysis.
So I'll give you an example. In one area, a technology that we launched with collaboration with other organizations, and there were many industry partners that were part of this, and that is focused on the process industry, and the need there, the pain points were, I wanted to get devices connected to the internet, and I wanted the speed of the Ethernet, not hardwired or any other slower protocols and so on. So we worked together over 3 years to put the specifications, and finally they are available, and vendors are starting to build devices. And the physical layer, as we call it, it's Advanced Physical Layer, APL, and that is based on using 2-wire single-pair Ethernet that will get you, the over 1,000-meter distance in a process. It is also designed for intrinsic safety in mind, and because you're using two wires, so you're allowing communication and power on the same two lines. So this is a very unique application where the need was there, but this also involves, not only just the specifications, the standard, the chips have to be, so you have to come up with So you have to come up with a physical layer, and there were partners with that. So you could see the ecosystem involves many players. So the chips have to be available to allow you to communicate on an Ethernet on two wires. So it took years to get to that point.
You can't just flip a switch.
No.
And you got to banter back and forth. You got to have that dialogue.
Right. So almost 3 years in development, and now the specifications are available. Now vendors are making devices. Now the conformance will start, and you could see that this is not a year in the making. This will take time to get and start implementing these in their manufacturing or environments, and I'm sure they will, end users will apply it first to where they really need it and their pain points are.
Which brings up an interesting component when we start talking about the need for Ethernet, let's say, and creating the device that allows for that to happen. Was it just because of the speed?
Speed primarily is a key to this, yes.
But for me, I can't see the difference. I mean, was it really that slow?
It is. When you are commissioning a device, and you're taking minutes versus.
No way.
Yeah.
It was really.
Yeah. So
it
could take. There's enough difference that you make the business case that I need the speed.
That would drive me crazy.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you right now, if it took minutes.
And also, I mean, the idea that you have seamless connectivity, Ethernet all the way to the device. I mean, it's a great thing. You bring
that's true.
You bring a lot of knowledge to that. You bring the IT. There's a lot more, many more people and skills that understand Ethernet IT.
Is there a greater reliability to it as well from a communication perspective? Just like.
Obviously the reliability is a key one, but you're eliminating a lot of the hard wires, and sometimes in those where you're really not able to do the diagnostics and monitoring. So this is giving you the data that you need and the monitoring capability to make it more efficient and prevent. I mean, this is very important for these environments. You want to be able to collect data, and plenty of it, to be able to do the analytics, to know if my device is going to fail and I don't want my plant to shut down. I can do preventive maintenance.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, that's a huge one. You need to get engaged with SMRP. Yeah, that's another organization. Al, how do they get a hold of you? If somebody says, I want to talk to Al, or I want to talk to his organization, I want to be involved in his organization, how do they get a hold of you?
ODVA.org. ODVA.org.
Okay.
If you go on our website, there's contact information, and we'll be happy to help.
ODVA. Okay.
All right.
.org. You did not disappoint, Al. That was great. I enjoyed that conversation in a big way.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're excellent. All right, listeners, we're going to wrap it up on the other side. We're going to have all the contact information for Al as well as ODVA.org. Reach out to that organization if you have any questions. You need trusted Sherpas to help you with this particular, Industry 4.0 journey. So thank you very much. We're going to wrap it up. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
Again, thank you very much for joining Industrial Talk. His name is Al. The company is ODVA.org. And that was at IoT Solutions World Congress in Barcelona, Spain. And yeah, put that on your bucket list for next year. I'll have all the information associated with that event out on industrialtalk.com. And by the way, I'm looking at Al's stat card, Dr. Al, and you need to connect with him as well. It's going to be out on Industrial Talk, so don't come to me and say I can't find Al, because Al will be there and he is ready to connect. As I always say, we are building a platform that celebrates industry professionals, and we are providing, because of the help of all of those industry professionals, a platform that educates, opens up for collaboration, and definitely innovates. This is what we need to do. If you're in the industry, you need to be engaged. You need to always be seeking solutions, seeking partners, seeking individuals to help with your problems. That's what we're trying to do here at Industrial Talk, and highlight all of the great innovations that are taking place, and also the great problem-solving solutions that exist as well out on Industrial Talk. One last comment. There is an organization called Mercy Chefs, and I was very fortunate to be able to be a part of that, a fundraising event at Accelerate 23. Look at it at Mercy Chefs, see what you can do. They provide food for areas that have been impacted. Be bold, be brave, dare greatly. Hang out with people like Al, and you're going to change the world. We're going to have another great conversation coming from IoT Solutions World Congress shortly, so stay tuned.